Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tearing up the menu on the pirate's larder. We're completely stripping away that Hollywood glamour to uncover the visceral, stomach-turning reality of what actually fueled the deadliest ships during the Golden Age of Piracy. Buckle up, because this gets gross. Okay, let's dive into this. Picture this. It's 1718, and Blackbeard's crew sits down to a meal so unbelievably foul that a captured sailor actually went on the record with this chilling quote: "I would rather drown than eat it twice." Yeah, he was talking about a pirate banquet called Salmagundi. And honestly, that reaction, it perfectly sets the tone for the absolute grim reality of maritime eating we're about to explore. I mean, most of us picture pirates feasting on crisp roast pork and knocking back endless rum under a beautiful canopy of stars, right? But the historical truth, well, it'll completely turn your stomach. The gritty, desperate reality of surviving on what was, let's be real, a floating death trap, meant meals consisting of crawling maggots, unidentifiable gray sludge, and meat so tough it was basically wood. Literally, one single bad barrel of provisions could wipe out an entire crew way faster than any enemy galleon ever could. And hey, before we romanticize the rum, let's talk about the real foundational drink here. 1 gallon. That was the daily ration of small beer for every single man and boy on board. Now, this wasn't a craft IPA. It was a weak, flat, frankly kind of vinegary brew with barely any alcohol at all, and they weren't drinking it for a buzz. They drank a whole gallon a day because the alternative, water stored in wooden casks, turned slimy, green, and straight up toxic within weeks. That water cask would slowly and surely kill you, so small beer was literally their safest bet for hydration. So what were they washing down with that flat beer? Often it was a miserable morning staple known as burgoo. Basically, think of oatmeal boiled endlessly in water until it just completely collapses into this thick, lumpy, gray sludge. If the cook was feeling particularly generous, maybe it got a smear of molasses. Sailors complained about this stuff bitterly, day in and day out, but guess what? They always finished every heavy, filling bite. Why? Simply because it sat in a man's stomach like wet cement. It gave them that slow-burning energy they absolutely needed to survive a grueling watch on deck. Then you had another cheap, reliable staple, peace pudding. The preparation here was just pure maritime ingenuity. You'd shove dried split peas into a cloth bag, then drop that bag directly into a massive copper kettle that was already boiling the day's salt meat. You let it boil for hours until the peas swelled up into this dense paste that you could literally slice like a bar of soak. The absolute genius of this bag method, the otherwise totally bland peas cleverly soaked up the salt, fat, and flavors from the meat boiling right next to it. It's kind of like a grim 18th century slow cooker. But look, the absolute unkillable foundation of the sailor's diet was the ship's biscuit, better known as hardtack. This was nothing more than flour and water baked repeatedly until every single trace of moisture was completely gone. The result? A dense, rock-hard, tooth-cracking disc with exactly zero flavor. Seriously, none. It was incredibly unglamorous and painfully tough to eat, but it could be stored for years without spoiling. That plain, boring biscuit was the sole reason any ship could sail beyond the sight of land. It literally made every long voyage of the Golden Age possible. Now, as for protein, fresh meat was incredibly rare. Instead, they relied on meat packed with so much salt that it cured into something sitting right between a rock and a piece of leather. Think of it as the most extreme, unchewable beef jerky imaginable. To even attempt to eat this so-called salt horse, you had to yank it from the barrel and soak it in seawater for a day, or even longer, just to draw out enough salt to physically chew the stuff. Because of this harsh reality, hungry, desperate pirate crews would eagerly target provision vessels specifically to capture these vital barrels of cured meat. Because let's face it, a starving crew with full powder kegs is entirely useless. But once these ships finally reached the warm waters of the Caribbean, the diet dramatically shifted to local island bounties. One major staple was cassava bread. But wow, there's a massive catch here. Raw cassava root is highly poisonous. So pirates utilized a super tricky detoxification process, a survival hack they learned directly from the indigenous Taino people. They had to grate the root, press it aggressively to squeeze out all those toxic juices, and then bake it on a hot stone into a dry flatbread. The brilliant part? It wouldn't spoil in the sweltering tropical heat. And this brilliantly illustrates the origin of a word we all know. Early French and English hunters on Hispaniola preserved meat using an indigenous wooden frame called a boucan. They'd use it to slowly smoke wild cattle and pigs over a smoldering fire. Well, the men who mastered this smoky barbecue method became known as buccaneers. So when these exact same men transitioned from hunting island cattle to, hunting Spanish ships, their barbecue-inspired name followed them right out onto the high seas. Pretty wild, right? Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer, overwhelming chaos of the ingredients they used when things got desperate. Remember that sailor from earlier who said he'd rather drown than eat the meal twice? Well, this is it. This is Salmagundi. It was an absolutely punishing dish, just a chaotic mixture of turtle, fish, pickled vegetables, mango, and honestly, whatever else was lying around. Why pile all this random stuff together? Because they seasoned it with aggressive violence. I'm talking mounds of mustard seed, pepper, and sharp vinegar. It was specifically designed to completely mask the off flavors of rotting, half-spoiled ingredients. So let's talk about the guy actually making these meals, the cook. Often, he was a disabled veteran, a sailor who'd lost a limb and couldn't climb the rigging anymore. And he worked in terrifying, constant danger. Picture this: cramped, smoke-choked darkness, deep in the belly of a wooden ship that is packed tightly with gunpowder. If the ship pitched in rough seas and he happened to spill a pot of boiling fat over the open firebox, he could detonate the entire vessel. Literally, the least respected man aboard held the entire crew's lives in his hands every single day. I mentioned water earlier, and its degradation was horrifyingly fast. Week 1, it's loaded up clean and sweet. But by week 3, sealed down in a warm wooden hold, it grew slimy and green with a thick skin of algae. And by week 6, it was intensely foul-smelling and literally crawling with small living things. Yet absolute desperate thirst forced these men to drink it regardless of the rot. Thirst at sea was just a ticking clock, counting down to death. And that rot extended right to their food, too. Remember that unkillable ship's biscuit we talked about? Well, in those damp holds, it bred weevils. These were small, dark beetles that laid eggs until the hardtack was literally crawling with larvae. Sailors had to develop these grim, totally stomach-turning methods just to consume them. They'd purposefully eat at night, in the pitch dark, just so they wouldn't have to see the bugs. They'd tap the biscuit on a table to knock the worst of the larvae out, or maybe soak it in a hot drink to skim the bugs right off the top. Some guys jokingly called it free protein and just chewed them up, because honestly, throwing away a single precious crumb, unthinkable. But here's the thing they really didn't fully understand: scurvy. Without fresh food, a sailor's body literally falls apart. And there's this massive, tragic irony here. Honest Navy sailors, strictly following the rules and staying at sea for these agonizingly long stretches, often rotted from the inside out. Meanwhile, the lawless pirates? They actually suffered far less from scurvy. Why? Simply because their constant illegal raiding forced them ashore all the time, bringing them right into contact with citrus and fresh island produce that inadvertently cured them. It's crazy, right? So the crucial point is that on these ships, food was never just food. It was pure control. The elected quartermaster divided every single ration with absolute brutal fairness. Why? Because stealing from the common stores sparked instant mutiny, usually ending with you being marooned on some desolate sandbar. Distributing food equitably, along with a heavily controlled, watered-down rum ration known as grog, was really the primary way a captain kept morale up and prevented ship-wide revolts. Honestly, hunger, way more than combat, overthrew ships. Now, when sickness did strike, they had this fascinating medicinal ration. Enter portable soup. Long before the modern bouillon cube existed in our kitchen pantries, ship provisioners would boil meat and bones down into a thick, dark glue, and then they'd dry it into these leather-like slabs. This precious, highly guarded medicinal soup could be stored for years. When dissolved in hot water, it provided an instant, savory broth to feed failing, dying sailors who were just far too weak to even try chewing hardtack. Of course, as regular provisions inevitably dwindled, the desperate hunting began. They hooked sharks right over the side. They harpooned massive manatees in shallow waters. They roasted feral iguanas on island beaches. And when land was just too far away, well, they hunted the fattened ship rats right down in the cargo hold. And the wild part? Starving men were incredibly grateful for a roasted rat, actually claiming that a rat fattened on the ship's grain tasted surprisingly clean, almost like a small bird. Let's move to the next phase of desperation and see how this builds into one of the most brutal yet undeniably effective survival strategies of the era. To guarantee fresh meat far from land without any sort of refrigeration, pirates utilized a living larder. They'd catch these massive sea turtles, flip them completely upside down on their backs, and simply keep them alive on the deck or in the hold for weeks on end. No food, no water. It was incredibly harsh, for sure, but this living refrigerator provided fresh meat and eggs exactly when the crew needed it the most. But what happens when the biscuit is gone, the rats are eaten, and the turtles are all butchered? That's when you hit the absolute floor of human desperation. Starving, doomed crews were forced to literally eat the ship itself just to buy one more day of life. I'm talking boiling their own leather shoes, belts, and rigging covers until they were just soft enough to physically chew. They ate tallow candles meant for light, they gnawed on sawdust, chewed on leather bindings, basically anything to trick their failing bodies into believing they were being fed. And that really brings us to the ultimate question. Knowing what these men had to digest just to stay alive on the world's most dangerous waters, could you have swallowed a weevil-infested biscuit in the pitch dark? Could you have boiled your own boots just to see another sunrise? Drop down into the comments and tell me, which of these brutal survival meals horrified you the absolute most? Was it the live turtle larder, the roasted ship rats, or that chaotic bowl of salmagundi? Thanks so much for exploring this explainer with me, and I'll catch you on the next one.